sun gives in to this unrelenting season. It might be the reason why stillness never comes. When the darkness strolls around you, there is no light left to find you. Take cover in your dreams. This night can't be outrun. When it's sunny in Victoria.
Greetings. I'm Holly Hughes, one of 4 co-curators of the Northwind Arts Reading Series. Just a quick update on the status of our series. Since the closing of the Northwind Gallery in March, in keeping with the state guidelines, we've taken the reading series online. You can find the May anthology reading from Strange Fruit, edited by Sarah Zale and Terry Person, posted on our Facebook page, which is Northwind Reading Series, and also on the Northwind website and their Facebook page. Linda Robertson and I are pleased to be co-hosting the June Tidepools reading, which had been scheduled for June 18th. Tidepools is the literary and arts magazine for Peninsula College and has been in existence for over 50 years. In fact, this is issue number 56. One of the missions of the Northwind Arts Reading Series is to support our community by providing a venue for student work. And in this case, the students work as staff of the magazine, with the submitted writing and art coming from writers, artists, and musicians all across Clallam and Jefferson counties. So it's definitely a community effort. It's printed right here in town at the printery, and it just came out in early June. So we're celebrating its recent debut with this online reading. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Michael Mills, a professor at Peninsula College, who teaches in both the English and art departments and who is a talented writer of plays, musicals, and short fiction. Michael has been advisor for Tidepools for 10 years now, and this year that's meant single-handedly finishing the production of the publication Spring Quarter when no students were on campus. Not only that, but he also assembled the video you're about to see, including recording some of the audio clips on his phone, so that as many contributors could be included as possible. We're grateful to Michael and to all his students, and we hope you'll enjoy this display of the diverse talent of our community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abigail Heistad. I'm 7 years old and I painted as a night owl. My 2 hobbies are playing the piano and doing art. I painted because I really like owls and I always want to see them.
I have seen whole families stranded in the fields, surrounded by aged pickets, tangled in thorny thickets, lonely seeming in a sea of corn. They are all quite still beneath leaning stones that tell their names and span of years, but not their fears and joys or objects of their love and hate. The end of a farmer's fate can be held within a small fence on the dirt he tasted in the summer sun, swept by the wind that rattled his corn and circled the world to come around again and find his sons harvesting their own hard-won crops. After, they brought flowers to the stones that ghosts call home as they whisper a history as real as time until all is down to soil and planted again with a strong man's toil.
Scottish Funeral Dirge by Gavin Chuckermiller. Hark to the keening on the fen, there, then gone, then there again. All hearts fail as the bagpipes wail, the Scottish funeral dirge. The sun casts its crimson rays, turning the fog to a bloody haze. Through the fens a grim group wends, a Scottish funeral dirge. The laird died late in the night, with the moon his soul took flight. Now sings his clan with faces wan, a Scottish funeral dirge. The lasses in dresses, the lads in kilts, claymores polished and brass at the hilts, below red sky as bagpipes cry, a Scottish funeral dirge. The bier is draped with fabrics fair, carried on broad shoulders through the air, across the bog amidst the fog, a Scottish funeral dirge. No more I see their faces pale, no more I hear their bagpipes wail, but in my soul its echoes roll, a Scottish funeral dirge.
I'm Linda M. Robertson and a member of the Northwind Reading Series team. In more normal times, we bring poets to the Northwind Art Center in Port Townsend once or twice a month for readings. We're currently working to bring some of our poets online so they can share their work. I'm also a member of a small group of poets that go out to specific places in Port Townsend and beyond and wander, looking for inspiration for poems. While exploring Fort Flagler with several other poets, I noticed the sign, Portable Searchlight Storage, and that sparked this writing. I wrote this in memory of my son, Evan, who died in the mountains of British Columbia when he was 20. Inspired by Portable Searchlight Storage sign at Fort Flagler, Marrowstone Island, Searchlight for Evan. How far can it reach, this eye of light? I would aim its sight towards his last living day or further, to years lit with snowfall and alpine lakes, traced by a boy on a board, to morning hours reflecting burnished eyes, the sheen of his hair, astonished smile. Tonight the quarter moon is a scar that burns upon this world altered. His future slipped from mine by a glacier's sudden shiver. In a dream I traverse the crest where sky joins earth, forage through time's talus and shale, for boot prints, an agile echo, breathy relic. How far can it reach, this star of sight? If only I could send its arc through the night, so he might follow its radiance back to me. Thank you.
Last year, my brother-in-law died suddenly. He had just finished building a home on the farm which had been in the family for many generations. He never got to move in. We went to Texas to honor Robert on this land filled with shared memories and to bid the farm a fond farewell. This poem, Meed of Praise, was inspired by that experience. Meed of Praise by Nancy Stevens. As the cloud of dust settles, our family homestead comes into view. The foundation remains, footprint of a home torn from its roots. Bricks branded Atlas lie, tempered by the gravity of gone generations. Farm implements rust in fallow fields, near the boxcar, crammed with crumbling effects, now guarded by rats and rattlers. Buzzards overhead, circling, circling. We maneuver the thorny maze of cactus and mesquite to reach the fishing hole. Sunlit water fills our eyes, a mirror without ripples from childish dares, shoves, or startled snakes. Eager arms reach for rocks. Stones skip the sentient surface, soothe the suffering of a pond where lush imaginations no longer brew. A communally sculpted homage complete, losses sifted and settled like dust on weary feet. We head back through overgrown pastures where cattle no longer graze, alert to the whispering of dry grasses, mesmerized by the beauty of sparseness.
Hello, my name is Ruth Marcus. I'm from Sequim, Washington, and I'm happy to have participated in Tidepools 2020. Here's my poem. Beyond the trees. Fingers stroke the edge of creation, there and there. Morning breathes a gray breath of fog along lowland near the pond. Fingers reach between branches, dusting golden light on the fringe of sleeping leaves that cling to morning mist. The stillness, close. I watch the color orange rise, breathe over the pond, beyond the trees. Thank you.
He can't remember why he was so ticked off with David when they first got out of the van. He just knows he had to cool off by taking a different path. His best friend David is developing a knack for getting on his nerves. Matt is proud of his family's historic benevolence toward the tribes, but David always knows how to bring him down a peg. Friendship can be tricky. What initially draws you to someone with common interests can be the same thing that causes conflict once you get to know him better. Case in point, a friend who is as obsessive about fishing as you are can reveal himself to be obsessive about things that never occurred to you as important. But in the end, to preserve the friendship, honesty is crucial. When Matt arrives at the riverbank, David is already fishing 20 yards upstream. He stops casting to watch a caddisfly land on his boot. Matt appears from the trees and David waves. The caddisfly quickly rises, landing on a moss-covered boulder. On the other side of the river, fishermen cast in front of a steep dirt bank with a slight overhang. A few rocks break loose, roll down, and hit one of them on the leg. He moves over a few feet and keeps fishing. On his next cast, the whole bank breaks loose. The tumbling rocks, saplings, and dirt create a wave. Dozens of startled fish jump out of the water. The fishermen dash into the river. Two of them lose their balance and drift downstream to the gravel bar before they regain their footing and get back to shore. A foot pops up, swaying like the fin of a spawned-out salmon. David waves his arms to some men downstream in a drift boat. The sudden turbulence from the slide makes their boat rock. As they look upstream, they see David point to the limp body floating toward them. The body stops, caught in an eddy, where it rotates in place. They row upstream to him. They reach over, grab him by the back of his waders, and pull him to the side of the boat. They hold on to him and row ashore. They drag him up the bank, and he still has his fingers wrapped around his fishing rod, which they quickly fling aside. One of them tries to revive him. David and Matt make their way downstream to see if they can help. David starts talking about the new CPR techniques. Matt pushes him back toward the path. Come on, they don't need us. They hike back to the van. You want to go fish on the other side? David asks. Nah, I'm bummed out on any more fishing for today. Matt starts the van. We should have stayed and helped those guys do CPR, David says. They looked like they knew what they were doing, Matt says. He'll be fine. Again, David says, we should have stayed. And then what, Matt says? Push them out of the way so you could show off how good an Indian is at CPR? They were doing it already, dude. I'm just saying we took the class. We could have done it better. Matt asks, who's to say they didn't take the class? What does being an Indian have to do with it? Matt feels uncomfortable and doesn't answer the question. He realizes he has stepped over a boundary he wishes he hadn't crossed.
This photo was taken on August 19th, 2019 at 8:46 p.m. It's part of my August Nights series, a daily project inspired by Edward Hopper's painting Nighthawks and a personal color and light challenge. I took it from outside Peabody Street Coin Laundry in Port Angeles, Washington. When I started shooting, there was a young couple in that window, bathed in the green of a sodium lamp. They were playfully wrestling. I wasn't able to get a shot of the two of them, and then suddenly she alone was visible. Sometimes it feels a little weird to be photographing people who don't know I am there.
A box of old photos. Your eyes were green, or so I remember. Yet as I look at you in this snapshot, standing by our van at the edge of the canyon, they are a blazing red that no red eyes edit could change. That day you were the devil. Your feelings toward me unspoken but clear. Anger, lust, jealous outrage, violence simmering toward eruption. So I pushed you, and you, taken by surprise, toppled into the abyss. In my heart, I have followed.
Good evening. This is Nan Toby Terrell, sharing a poem I wrote that I worked on many times in a workshop this past September called Hanging Clothes. And the beauty of writing a poem to me is that I can keep changing it. And when you're in a workshop, you get a lot of different kinds of ideas of what makes a poem work. Hanging Clothes. I fold the beige Irish cardigan you gave me for my trip back east. The pattern reflects our lives, complicated, intense, connected. You live amongst paintings, cats, and dogs, children demanding dinner. When I reach your gate, crows welcome me. By the fire pit, we sit, exchange stories. The full moon witnessing to our words, lies, betrayals. We lose our parents, but go on our way, baking bread, digging holes, painting images. Darker days, September, October, Halloween. I look to the sky for signs. You bring salmon and chicken, biscotti, and wine. The shadow of mother sings while I play songs. I live simply. One mango, red potatoes for dinner. At the beach, we stare back at one another. Days filled with small deeds, fears, sirens at night. Yet we rise and hang sheets under a pale white sky, hoping it won't rain. Before Christmas dinner, we'll play a Duke melody, singing in the key of D. Thank you.
Greetings. I'm Eva McGinnis, and I'm honored to have this poem selected for Tidepools Magazine. The poem is titled Wind at Kalaloch Beach, and this beach is one of a string of stunning beaches along Washington's Pacific coast. The beaches are presently closed to the public due to coronavirus, which makes it even more poignant to think about my time there. This poem is about the process of healing and releasing what may be too raw to bear without the solace of nature.
like the death of a loved one or other heart-wrenching losses. It also speaks to the strength and courage that it takes to walk against the strongest of winds and discover the unlikely and unseen allies who are there for us. So here's the poem, Wind at Kalaloch Beach. Wind at Kalaloch Beach, Washington. Ocean wind, strong enough to battle tides, bully and churn charcoal clouds, keep the earth spinning. I square my shoulders against gritty gusts, push forward like a mime struggling with an imaginary umbrella in wind tunnel. I sink sideways on the sandy shore towards the ocean waves, barely making progress. With all this supernatural muscle tugging and pulling everything, you would think time would speed up. But instead, minutes hang suspended. Like lone seagull flapping bravely, a pulsing kite entangled in invisible branches of luminescent spirit trees growing close to shore. Wind whips tears from my eyes, dries up tear ducts, so no one can see the struggle is not just with this sandblasting, but with time stopping at the shock of your leaving. Perhaps I need this wind to scour me raw enough to bury you on this beach, among sand-covered crab shells, crushed barnacles, and fallen bird bones that crunch under my feet, unseen. Thank you.
This poem deals with avoidance. A lot of times we avoid the issues that end up bringing us a lot more problems because we try to bury them underneath alcohol, food, television, just a multitude of different ways to avoid what's really hurting inside of us. And that hurt usually comes from some trauma. And I had a multitude of traumas as a child, but I also, as a young adult, I experienced an abortion, which also created more problems. And it took me a while to find healing, but I was I was blessed in that I was given the opportunity to attend a conference that dealt specifically with post-traumatic stress disorder in relationship to abortion. And while I was sitting in the audience, I realized, as the speaker, Dr. Teresa Burke, spoke about the ways to healing from trauma, that I'd already done a lot of healing because of the background that I had, because she said the 3 ways that we can find healing from trauma, any kind of trauma, not even just abortion, but we can find it through creating art, through writing, and through deep contemplative prayer. And I was blessed in my young years to always love doing art and writing, and then I started to find more and more contemplative prayer in my 30s. And so I'd like to share this poem and hope that it reaches the goal that I do in my writing, which is to help people heal from their hurts. And that's why I'm involved with an organization called Silent No More, and that deals specifically with the trauma that people experience through abortion. So here's the poem, Oodles of Buckles. From where the willow weeps in the corner of our backyard, an old female dog dug up a skeleton, as white as newborn snow, and much older than me or you. The dog, with all her feminine mystique, gripped the skeleton's spine between her grinning canine teeth, trotted up and down the street for every neighbor to see. Fibulas, femurs, tibias, ribs, swinging helpless arms, and fragile bony feet. A bobbing skull with vacant eyes began to bleed ink blots on our manicured lawns, drew pictures that resembled something from a therapist's notebook. These images slithered on their paper-thin stomachs right up to the front door. We could not escape from that ink, thick and sticky black goo. It stuck to our bare feet that left a trail up and down our sidewalk when we ventured outdoors to retrieve our mail. That ink then crept up our legs, covered us from head to toe, forced us to search for a disguise to wear both at home and in public. We donned movie star glam sunglasses to conceal our innate blindness, and disposable overshoes with oodles of buckles to keep our fingers busy and distracted from dealing with our sticky feet that refused to come clean. 2, in desperation, we cloaked ourselves in designer trench coats, and inside we tucked semi-automatics in case that old female dog reappeared with another skeleton clenched in her determined teeth, who we plotted to shoot between her amiable golden eyes if she dared to speak.
The Northwind Reading Series team thanks Michael and everyone that contributed to this reading. We hope that you'll enjoy the upcoming readings posted on our Northwind Reading Series Facebook page, as well as the Northwind Arts Center website and their Facebook page. Be well and keep sharing your art with the world. Thank you.